Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Palm Tree Sports. My name is Corey Pujols. I am your host, and as always, this is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And guys, happy Saturday. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. I'm myself having a pretty decent one. I can't complain. My son will be over later to spend the evening, and we had a yard sale today, so that was pretty fun. Made a little bit of money, got to meet some nice people, and just enjoy the neighborhood, really. So, pretty successful day, I might say. And let's keep that success rolling, guys, with what's going on here in the world of sports inside of the Sunshine State. As you guys know, we are in the off season for college, but there is a tiny bit of news coming out of college, and we'll get to that in a minute. But as always, let us start the show off with the NFL. And we are in the off season of the NFL as well, as you guys may obviously know. Now, with that being said, there's still a ton of things going on because we have three very exciting teams here in the state of Florida. So, let's start with Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay by far has the most drama of all the teams here in Tampa, or Florida, I should say, referring to Tampa, that is. As you guys know, the OTAs are underway for all three teams. They have been now. This is the second week that we are involved in OTAs. And for Tampa Bay's OTAs, that most importantly dictates what's going to happen in the starting positions. The most important starting position is the quarterback position, which happens to be the hottest debate in Tampa right now. Who's going to get the start? Some people think it's Kyle Trask's time to make the imaginary leap forward to starting quarterback and quarterback of the future. Some say Baker Mayfield is the seasoned quarterback that's coming in to revitalize his career with possibly the perfect ratio of players to do so. And some say they're going to split time. Oh, I don't know, guys. I don't know. The quarterback controversy is going to take time to solve as we get closer and more into football shape. One thing that a lot of people have to remember is that most players, probably over 80% of the league, during the offseason actually treat the offseason as if it's an offseason, and they don't do much in the world of football. Yes, they may go out and play a game or two, stretch, play sports, whatever the case may be. I suspect they'll do a little bit of all of that throughout the time. However, a lot of teams, a lot of players, they decide to chill out. They do decide to chill out. And who can blame them? So let's get into the reason why this is a big deal for Tampa Bay. The quarterback competition between Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield, people may not understand how diverse these two quarterbacks are. But Kyle Trask went to the University of Florida, okay? And Baker Mayfield went to the University of Oklahoma. Baker Mayfield was in a Power 5 conference and team during his time there at college. There are a lot of people that think he was the best thing to happen to Oklahoma since sliced bread, okay? I am one of the people who would agree in a percentage. I'd say about 80%. Baker Mayfield's a phenomenal talent from the college football perspective. In the NFL perspective, he's a game manager, okay? Now, I wouldn't call him a floor general. I wouldn't even call him a field general. But I would call him a good game manager and somebody whose upside we have not seen the top of. In other words, I believe Baker Mayfield here in Tampa Bay could be on a resurgence. And for all of those people who think that Tampa Bay is going to fail this year, I actually feel the opposite. I think Tampa Bay is going to do exceedingly well, and having the element of surprise on our team is that much better. Nobody expects Tampa to do anything. Granted, element of surprise. When you have the two receivers such as Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and friends, okay, and a defense that may have actually gotten better after the draft, okay, which we all know the defense was actually a bit of a problem last year. I think this team is poised to do something a lot of teams have not done in the past, and that's succeed with a first-year quarterback under a first-year offensive coordinator. All right, Dave Canellis is our new offensive coordinator. Baker Mayfield will most likely be our new starter. Nobody's expecting anything, as I mentioned earlier. I look for Tampa Bay to do some damage inside of the NFC, and I also look for them to possibly even make the playoffs. It's a hard task, but it's something that this group of guys can complete. Most of these guys are recently removed from the playoffs, and we got younger. Okay, we did lose some experience, but that could change with rumors that Tampa Bay is going to sign Ezekiel Elliott. I'd like that signing, to be honest with you. That'd be a very nice signing. But there is another running back that's out there that may not have a place to go, and if he doesn't have a place to go, Tampa Bay could end up being a position for him if we can find some money in cap, and that's Dalvin Cook. Now, obviously, this is a far-fetched idea, but with the rumors being that we are going to sign Ezekiel Elliott's only been in the league about 4 years longer. I think it was 3 or 4 years longer than Dalvin Cook. So I would not be surprised to see Dalvin Cook either here or in another Florida team, such as Miami. With that being said, because of the quarterback competition going on in Tampa Bay and the new offense that is taking place, I would say that the 3 guys that will be featured in this offense, primarily to nobody's surprise, at least 2 of them to nobody's surprise, will be Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, with our third being Rachaad White. So, let me explain. Dave Canellis came in and rightfully observed that last year Chris Godwin missed a lot of time due to injury, and when he came back, he was phenomenal for us, but he clearly wasn't the Chris Godwin of old. Mike Evans, I'm not going to say he waited until week 17 to turn into Mike Evans, but he was uncharacteristically dropping balls throughout the year, and as a Tampa Bay fan, and my dad who is in the chat can also agree to this, he did not look like the Mike Evans of old, okay? He still has some speed. That hasn't really changed. But we couldn't help but notice some of the drop balls. And now, if you're not a Tampa Bay fan, you don't know this. But if you're a Tampa Bay fan, you watch every week. I'm telling you, you noticed Mike Evans, I think, had the most career drops in his now 9 going on 10-year career. So, guys, that's just something to take a note of. As somebody who pays very close attention to his team, I can tell you right now that I really hope Mike took the time to address this during the offseason. I really hope he took the time to say, hey, what's going on? I know I was dropping balls. I'm one of the best receivers in the league. What do I need to do to get back on track? And then do it. Mike is a hard worker, and he's a great man, a great father, a great person. So I just look forward to the improvements that he's going to make, and I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back with a vengeance this year, if he comes back healthier, stronger, and better than ever. And I'm just praying for him and the rest of the team to stay healthy, because that would be the second biggest issue that I think I noticed with Tampa Bay, especially after the Super Bowl, was injuries. Everybody was hurt, and 2 years ago when we made that push deep into the playoffs in the NFC Championship game, I think it was, losing to the Rams, let me remind everybody that at one point in that season, we'd have 15 starters on injured reserve. Okay? 15. Alright? So, I don't care what team you are. I don't care what sport you play. I don't care how good your quarterback is. I love Tom Brady to death. I've been a Tom Brady fan for 20 plus years. Okay? But Dad will tell you. But I'm telling you, from a numbers perspective, from a math perspective, 15 starters out, you're not going to win or make it to a Super Bowl at that point, no matter how good you guys play. Because we played our tails off, guys. We played our asses off. All right? But unfortunately, that is the nature of the beast. That is what happens, and it's not just only happened to us. It's happened to us before. If you guys remember the 2003-2004 Buccaneers season, after we won the Super Bowl, we suffered a lot of injuries, guys. Shortly after that, if you guys don't remember, a few years later, Michael Allstott retired. Michael Clayton never turned out to be the wide receiver he thought he was going to be. Joe Jaravicius also would go on to leave the team, go somewhere else. Keita McCardell, same thing. All right? 90% of that team was gone by 2007, guys. 2007, 2008. So that's barely 5 years removed. All right? It was absolutely horrible. It was one of the saddest things that we ever seen, but unfortunately that's partially what happens, and it is what it is in the game of football. Now, I will say this, now that we've mentioned all of those things, I do see what you guys are saying in the chat. I agree with you 100%. All right, Byron Leftwich, his play calling became too predictable. Dave Canellis is now in this position because he adds an element of unpredictability to an offense that already has nuclear weapons. All right, Our receiving core is as good as anybody's in the top 5 in the league. I don't care who's listening, okay, or who has an opinion on it. This receiving core is disgusting, all right? Chris Godwin, Mike Evans by himself is nasty. Russell Gage, okay? And we got a couple other guys from the practice squad, all right? DeAndre Tompkins? I can't remember exactly what his first name was, but Tompkins, who's a standout, and he was the first player I think we signed on our practice squad because that guy can ball, all right? We've got a couple of young tight ends. We just added a third. They're all going to learn how to block properly this year because that's part of Dave Canellis' offense. I look forward to seeing what type of explosive creations of personnel we can use, right? As in mismatching personnel, bringing certain lineups in to draw the attention to the defense to one side of the field or make them go heavy where we're going weak. Guys, these are all tactics that head coaches use at all times in football. It's a chess game. It's a chess match, all right? And unfortunately, Byron Leftwich had become the type of offensive coordinator who you could see what he was doing before he did it. And I watch these games with my family a lot of the time. So I love my mom. And Mom, if you can hear me, this is an homage to you. But when my mom can predict the play on offense, guys, the play is too predictable. All right? Because my mom, she loves the game of football. All right? Now, she was a late bloomer into the game of football, but I'm saying that to say this. That's how predictable, okay, Byron Leftwich's offense had become. All right? We know you're going to get the ball to Mike. We know you're going to get the ball to Chris Godwin, to Rachaad White, back when we had Leonard Fournette. But you got to dress it up, guys. You got to, I'm sorry, but it's Pride Week. You got to RuPaul Drags Race that thing, okay? You got to show me something I haven't seen before. Because if I've seen it before, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to hop it. I'm going to skip it. I'm going to eat it. I'm going to return it for 6. All right? Whatever the case may be. All right? You're going to jump the route. You're going to play the ball. You're going to make a good call, which makes the offense look bad. That's what happened last year. No doubt that the Bucs were also suffering from a bit of Tom Brady's personal life. But understand this. Tom is the GOAT. And he still showed that last year. Okay? He still showed that last year. Again, with the issues that we were having, I look forward to Dave Canellis being able to implement a completely new strategy here in Tampa Bay, and I can't wait to see what he has come up with that. The only sad part I think about this entire thing is, do they have enough time to get this offense down? That's my concern. That's my biggest concern, and I don't think they have enough time, which means they're going to have to go as hard as they can possibly go right now, as healthy as they can be, but still go hard. All right, and I would agree with you, Dad. Russell Gage does need to show up a little bit better at the wide receiver 3 position because he could easily end up losing that position and becoming trade bait. All right, especially when there are teams out there who need a number 2 and a number 3 receiver. All right, such as Miami. All right, such as the Giants. Okay, so there are plenty of teams out there who are knocking on the door to the playoffs. All right. And all they need is another receiver or another running back to help push them over the hill. And we're going to find out soon enough within the first probably 5 to 6 weeks of the NFL season who those teams are and where these guys can go. But all right, guys, that's enough time on Tampa Bay. Let's move over to the Jags and the Fins because I do have a bit of information coming out of those two parties, guys. So let's start with the Jags first. Obviously, the Jags in the second week of OTAs, just as Tampa Bay and Miami are both in. I'm going to give you a couple of players to watch for the Jaguars because, again, this team is probably the best all-around team in the state of Florida. I said this last week, I said it the week before, and I'm just going to stand by it still to this day until something else changes. The Jaguars seems to have the most coherent team ear, all right? And I'm using the term team and ear as a way to describe how they take in information as a team, right? So when I see this team practice, I see Trevor Lawrence in the front of the formation telling people where to go, where to stand, what to do, and how their role in the play is going to help the play unfold into success. When you have a quarterback that can do that, all right, especially a young one, I'm going to tell you who that reminds me of. You guys remember Steve Young? All right. Steve Young was drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers before being traded over to the 49ers. Okay? This was a young guy who had the ability to look at the formation and say, hey, listen, I know your route is a flat route, but when you run this flat route, hezzy a little bit before you split. All right? Hezzy a little bit before you split. Why do you want me to hezzy? Because you're on the strong side of the formation. You have more room to work with. Okay? So when you do pause a sec and then go into your route, the reason why is because if the safety's watching, he's going to drop down. That guy who's on the fly route is now one-on-one. And if he's faster, he's open. You see how that works? There are little things like this that you would see Tom do, that you would see, what's his name, who's now with the Jets, guys? Rodgers, all right? You see Rodgers do it. We saw, what's his name from the Rams now? Matthew Stafford. We saw Matthew Stafford do that with Odell Beckham. They scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl, okay? That's exactly what I mean. Having a team like that makes it so much easier to win because you're doing the little things right, and when you do the little things right, the big things, they just happen, right? We see that all, the big play, it just happens when you're doing the little things right, all right? So that's what I love to see from the Jags. I'm always going to mention this, but Trevor Lawrence was a heck of a quarterback. He was a hell of a quarterback at Clemson, and he's brought that onto him, especially with Travis Etienne. I really think that this team has what it takes to make a deep push into the playoffs, possibly an AFC championship game, and then some. All right, so we'll see what happens. But they're in the AFC, which is a very tight place. They're going to have to go through the Patriots, or not Patriots, but the Chiefs. They're going to have to go contend with Miami and the Jets, most likely this year. I mean, I know the Jets are going to they're going to cause some havoc just by virtue of the fact they have a good quarterback now and a good defense. So that's just what happens when you have the two of those. And then obviously the Cincinnati Bengals. I think Cincinnati and the Chiefs are still the two best teams. You know, I believe in Joey B. I believe in Patty Mahomes. But I also believe in Trevor Lawrence and Tua Tagovailoa. So the three players I'm going to give you guys to watch, especially through OTAs, which are still voluntary workouts, mandatory workouts, begin a week from yesterday. I gotta look back. I'm not exactly sure what the date and the time is, but I will have that for you guys hopefully next week as we move into mandatory training. And the three players are going to be Calvin Ridley, all right, who I mentioned last week and I think the week before that, who's already turning heads here at OTAs, but of course he's been away from the game for a year, so we will see how that has treated him. Tyson Campbell and Darius Williams. All right, guys, these are going to be some very impactful guys to watch out for. Basically, all new to the rotation, not the team, but the rotation itself. So hopefully these guys really stand out and they show that they are capable of not just playing their position well, but dominating their position, which is extremely important, especially in today's league. Nobody cares about what's outside the top 5, the top 10, right? Because all that means is you're almost in first place, and we don't deal in almost, right? So the other bit of information coming out of Duval, shout out Duval, is whether they're going to sign D-Hop or not, okay? I have it via of an interview that was done earlier this week with Jags reps that it is not in them to make such a splash play for such a splash receiver. I do not see them going after D-Hop. However, should things not work out for wherever D-Hop is looking, Jacksonville is without the shadow of a doubt the best possible ending spot for him as far as the AFC is concerned. As we do know, the Chiefs and the Bengals are stacked. All right, they're loaded. The Bengals could find themselves bringing on another receiver. I don't know if that's actually going to take place. We have to wait and see what happens there. But in the meantime, between time, it doesn't look like the Jags are going to go after him. So there's that. Now, as far as the Fins are concerned, the Fins are all rumors right now, right? Because everything, their team is pretty much stacked from head to toe. They're lacking some special teams work and also some depth in the defensive department as far as safety, and in the offensive department as far as running back is concerned. That is the one reason why I have the Jaguars over Miami, is because they have more depth. If somebody gets injured, there's somebody there who can step in and get the job done. All right? Similar to that of Tampa Bay's structure, only Tampa Bay does not have a starting quarterback, as these other two teams do have. So, Finn's rumors start with Dalvin Cook, which I mentioned earlier. Dalvin Cook's best landing spot would most likely be Miami, because Miami gets an instant starter, an instant top 10 running back, injury or otherwise, and in return, they wouldn't be losing much of anything, because it looks like Dalvin Cook's going to get cut. So there's no need to trade. There's no need to pay out, more than what his contract max would be worth. And obviously you guys know what I mean by that, as opposed to whenever you're trading a guy who's under cap, and then you have a cap casualty is what they call it, where you still have to pay this guy, okay, but he's no longer with the team. All right, so Dalvin Cook could very well be headed to Miami. There's a far stretch that he could end up in Tampa, but that's requiring a lot of wishes to get granted. It would make sense for him to come back to Tampa, but that's only because he's from Florida State, which is Florida, which means Miami as well. So there's that bit of information. And then there's also the rumor that Miami is trying to complete a trade with the Cowboys that would send wide receiver Cedric Wilson over there. Cedric Wilson says he wants to stay in Miami. So that by itself is enough to quietly eliminate the thought of that trade taking place. Doesn't mean that it wouldn't happen. Could absolutely happen. But usually when a player says, hey, I want to stay here, unless that team just doesn't have a heart, they're going to get to stay. Okay? You could put a draft pick into the mix or something to that effect, and that would typically cover that type of request by a team player to stay with that team. So that's what's going on there in the world of the NFL as far as it is concerned in the state of Florida. Again, I look forward to seeing what all three of these teams can do. They're all headed in different areas. So, and yes, the AFC is super stacked. The NFC is a lot easier to contend with simply because, as you mentioned, the Eagles and the Niners are the two best teams in the NFC for sure. But if you take away those two teams, it's just throw your hat in there and we'll pull out the best hat and may that hat win. I believe that suits and helps the Buccaneers a lot more than people realize. And it's also something that could lead to Tampa Bay's success down the line, as we really only need to do good in the NFC. Nobody said we had to worry about the AFC, guys. Okay, we need to do our job here, and if we can do that, we'll be good to go. Let's go ahead and take our first break of the evening, guys, and when I get back, we'll get into some NBA news, some MLB, and that little bit of college football information that I found out. So sit tight, keep it locked here. We'll be back in about 60 seconds, starting now.
College football, and do you want to hear a college football show dedicated to all that is college football, including junior college and the CCCAA and the NJCAA, the NAIA, and the NCAA, including Division III, Division II, Division I AA in the FCS, and Division I A in the FBS? Well then, look no further. Join myself, Larry B., and my colleagues, Mr. H-Town Blake Henley, and Mr. Christian Espinoza, each week during the college football season for the latest in college football on 3 and Out College Edition, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
That's right, everybody, and that's your one-stop shop for all things college. Larry B's the man. The guy knows how to set it up. He knows how to break it down and bring it to you in a way where you're going to be able to absorb all the knowledge and utilize it for further purposes. And guys, that's exactly what we're going to do here as we continue on in what's going on in the world of sports here in Florida. Again, my name is Corey Pujols. You are listening to Palm Tree Sports, which is brought to you by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And guys, as we continue on, as you may know, Florida is a complete hub for talent, and that is not short of any sport. Okay, any sport whatsoever. And as Mr. Rodriguez has put into the chat very explicitly for us, thank you, sir, that the Florida Southern Exposure, the National Volleyball League's team from Orlando, Florida, split its 2 games last weekend, losing 3-1 to the San Diego Wild last Sunday, but beat the New Jersey Freedom in a thrilling 3-2 match last Monday in The win snapped a 4-match losing streak, and it might have saved the Exposure's postseason hopes. Thank you for putting that there, because I actually did not have any information on what was going on there in the volleyball team. As far as from a recent perspective, I see little bits of it pop up on my feeds when I go out and I check all my sources and I go through it. But it's not something just due to the fact that, as you already know, having the type of, it's funny that we use that the team's name is Exposure, having the exposure that we have here in Florida for the certain talent pools. For instance, also the Florida Gators golf team, I believe it was, beat Georgia Tech for its first championship, if I'm not mistaken, earlier this week. So that's just something that you don't really get to see often. I think, actually, Dad, I got to give you credit for that, because I believe you sent that to me. So, and that's why I read what you mentioned there verbatim. It's very interesting to know just exactly how gifted this state is from a sports perspective, and whether that be high school, college, pros, in any sport that may be. I mean, we are the furthest thing away from Canada, Russia, and pretty much any other place where there's natural ice at, and yet you have the Bolts and the Panthers consistently making the playoffs here in playing the sport of hockey, which by far is a beautiful sport. But it's just one of those things where if there was ever a synopsis that we couldn't play hockey down south, let that be frozen in its tracks, and vice versa, where we as a beach-going state, as we are a peninsula here in Florida, we will not win every volleyball game, right? And that's just a perfect way to kind of flip what the state has to offer from a talent perspective into what actually happens, especially in the pros. So there is that bit of information as well. Thank you again for sharing that with us. And I wanted to make sure we got that on the air as well, just in case anybody else who's listening may have been looking into that. So again, thank you. And as I mentioned, the Gators won their college tour, which was the golfing championship, and I believe it was they beat Georgia Tech. I believe Georgia Tech are the Yellow Jackets, if I remember correctly. So that's just one of the bits of information that was going on, and that was, I gotta admit, that was pretty cool. And I look forward to seeing, obviously, what happens there. And fifth, okay, there we go. So also, I will be doubling back to the Gators in a little bit before our final break, I believe it is. I'll be doubling back with some very interesting information. You guys are going to want to hear that. So hang in there, but let's go ahead and jump into this Miami and the MLB part, as we only have one team in each sport to talk about. With that being said, how can I say this? The Heat did everything they were not supposed to do. Okay? They literally did everything they're not supposed to do in Game 1 of the NBA Finals, okay? Let's start it out, right? Come out flat? Yep, they did that. Okay? Not play defense? Yep, they did that. Not rebound? Yep, they did that. But let me tell you what the biggest issue at Miami was in Game 1. They couldn't hit no shots, man. Okay, let me explain. The score was 104-93. Now, I've said this, every sport has a threshold, okay? In football, it's 20 points. The idea is, on offense, you want to score more than 20 points. On defense, you want to hold the team to under 20 points. When you know that that's what your goal is, it makes it getting there a little bit easier. However, you can't just sit there and take crap along the way. You got to put your foot down. You got to stand for what you believe in. You got to approach the game the way you know how to, and you got to do your very best every play, every down, every possession, every game of every week, of every month, of every year. You have to. I've played the game. My dad played the game. Larry B coaches the game. He's also played the game. Guys, it's all the same. It doesn't matter. High school, college, pros, semi-pros, arena football, Canadian Football League, I don't care where you go. It's the same thing in basketball. Idealistically, if you score over 100 points, all right, in a game, that means you averaged better than 25 points a quarter. That's a pretty good average, guys. I'm just letting you know. Now, it doesn't always go that way. Of course, it's not always going to go that way, right? But there's something to get you started. If you don't know what to do, start with scoring over 100 points and trying to keep the other team under 100 points. If you do that, you're going to win a lot of games, right? Let's just be clear. You're going to win a lot of games, okay? The Heat didn't do that. They were on the other side that you don't want to be on, of giving up over 100 points and not getting to 100. That's the first thing. How did that happen? Well, you can't hit shots. I can't tell you how many open threes, open looks in general from the mid-court and beyond that I saw were just missed. They're just, I don't know. Now, they were playing in Denver, altitude. It's not an easy thing to do. It's clear, obviously, that other teams struggle with playing in Denver. But guys, this is the NBA Finals. There's no time for excuses and for struggle. There's zero. I understand your series went 7 games and the Nuggets swept the Lakers in 4. Doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter, guys. It's the finals. Can't make any excuses. All right, we got to shoot the ball well. All right, and there's no way around that. Now, for those who are interested in continuing on with this NBA Finals, the Miami Heat will be playing against the Denver Nuggets again tomorrow at 8 p.m. in Game 2 of the NBA Finals. I look forward to seeing what adjustments Erik Spoelstra will have made, but I warn you this right now, as a Miami fan, but also as a realist, going down 0-2 to the Nuggets is all but sealing your own fate, okay? There's been, I don't think, a single team all year who has been able to effectively guard Jokic, okay? The guy's just a walking triple-double, all right? And I think I said that last week. So, hopefully Game 2 can bring out the best in Miami. We'll have to wait and see. We haven't seen the Nuggets fumble pretty much at all. So, hoping that they're going to shoot themselves in the foot seems like it's out of the question, all right? Especially with Jokic leading the team. So what does Miami need to do to bring home Game 2? Well, it's very simple, I tell you. Make shots. All right. Obviously, we've been harping on that this whole time. All right. Obviously, they're going to have to play better defense. Because, again, as I mentioned before, allowing a team to go over 100 points and you not being able to go over 100 points, that's a recipe for disaster in the NBA. The third thing they're going to have to do is get to the freaking foul line, guys. Excuse my French, I almost cussed on air, but you guys get what I'm saying. They took no shots. They're not getting anybody in penalty trouble, all right? That means you're going to have to push the paint, you're going to have to create contact, and you're going to have to shoot through that contact. You know who was really good at that? LeBron. I know people ain't going to want to hear that, but what if I told you LeBron was the smartest basketball player to ever live? Oh, duh, of course he's the smartest basketball player. What if I told you that all of his flopping is the way he got there? See, you can look at flopping as him not being a man. You can look at it as him selling his second opportunity to shoot the ball. See, we call it second chance points, right? But they're only second chance points if you draw the contact. Or and one, right? Most of the greats, okay, are really good at drawing contact or getting you out of play. See, that was the thing that Jordan was really good at. Jordan was just going to make you look stupid. Same thing Kobe used to do. Who's guarding me? Okay, you are? Okay, I know how to beat you. Boom, beats him. LeBron said, I'm going to take it a step further. I'm going to make you guard me, whoever you are, whoever I want you to be at that time, and then I'm going to make you mess up. Okay? We actually saw Jokic in foul trouble in Game 3, okay, in Lakers Nuggets. We saw him at 3 fouls in the third, I believe it was. Okay? That's big, because if you make him sit out half the fourth quarter, then you can win the game. Then now all you have to do is guard Murray. You see, you got to turn the game. You got to take away the game the way they give it to you. So they're playing a two-man game. Okay, shut one of the two guys down. I'll tell you what. That's how the Knicks in 1993 took a 2-game lead over the Lakers, or not Lakers, over the Bulls when Michael Jordan was there. How they took Scottie Pippen out of the game. All right. Yeah, Michael was in there still averaging 28, doing what he does best. But you say it, I mean, they said it best that they were going to need a game where Michael just went out and won it on his own. That's where you got to put the Nuggets. You got to swallow up Murray or swallow up Jokic, and I mean swallow him. Don't give him space to breathe, either of them. Because if you do, boom, they're going for 30. Okay? It is what it is, guys. We've seen it a whole bunch of times. People act like they don't know how to beat the two-man game. Unless it's Shaq, okay, and Kobe, they're beatable, guys. They're beatable. And this is not a Shaq and Kobe. So, look, swallow up Jokic or swallow up Murray, all right, and get to the foul line, guys. And then hit your shots. Easy peasy. Well, a lot easier said than done. But with that being said, I've rambled on enough about what's going on with the Miami Heat. Let's go ahead and talk about the Rays. Now, this team's in a different boat, okay? This team right here is not having the same issues Miami's having. Let's just call a spade a spade. The Tampa Bay Rays have the best roster in baseball when healthy. I'll say that one more time, just in case you guys didn't want to hear that. The Rays have the best roster in the MLB when healthy. There's just one problem. We're not healthy, guys. So many people on injured reserve. So many people recovering. And it's a revolving door, right? One person comes back, two more get injured. You guys get what I'm saying. So I'm going to start with the latter. All right? Josh Fleming is the latest in the pitching carousel of injury. All right? He's now on injured reserve and not really sure what the timetable is for him to come back. All right? I'm not excited about what's going on there from the injury perspective. It looks a lot like what happened to the Buccaneers after we won the Super Bowl. All right? 2022. It's leading us to dropping some games, including this game against Boston. So, it's a doubleheader today against Boston, and the Rays lost the first game 8-5. There's not a whole lot more I can say about it other than I hope we win the second game. Now, that second game started 30 minutes ago, so somebody could do us a favor and put the score of that game into the chat so that way we can all see it. I would be greatly appreciated of that. Dad, could you please do that? Thank you. But that game started at 6:10 p.m. There's a second game with two games being played today to make up for the game that got pushed back yesterday. And, guys, I'm not thrilled to tell you that Tampa Bay lost to the Red Sox, especially when the Red Sox are sporting a 30-27 record. Meanwhile, the Rays are still sitting with the best record in baseball at 40-19. So here's hoping we can get back on track right here in the second part of today's doubleheader. Again, that game started at 6:10, so if you guys are looking for some baseball to watch, there you go. That game is on right now. And, yeah, exactly. Exactly, Dad. And so, yeah, check out that game if you're looking for some baseball to watch. As far as upcoming baseball is to be concerned, you guys know I'm always going to give you what to look out for in the coming days. So tomorrow we do have the third of 4 games against the Red Sox. That game is going to be played at 1:35 p.m. And the last game in this 4-game series will be played Monday, June 5th at 4:05 p.m. So get ready for that, guys. Going to be 2 big games coming up as we are losing the space that we had between the next closest team in the win-loss record. All right? Somebody's sitting with 36 wins. It's 4 less than us. If we drop 1, that's 3. All right? So let's try to get the ball rolling back on the right side of things. After the Red Sox, excuse me, guys. After the Red Sox, who are quietly one of the worst teams in the league right now, or they're just not playing very well yet, which could, change because it's Boston, but I doubt it. Hopefully, fingers crossed that, doesn't. We'll be playing a 3-game series against the Twins. It's Minnesota. So, we will see how that goes. Let's close out this Boston series first. Let's try to end on 3 wins and do it. Hey, listen, let's just call it like what it is. We need to win. We need to win, baby. What did Al say before he passed away? Just win, baby. And that's it. So, scoreless, bottom of the second. You got it. Thank you, Dad. Appreciate you. So that's what's going on there with the Rays. And as I mentioned before, Josh Fleming headed to the injury reserve list. It's very unfortunate. We've been dealing with a ton of injuries over the last month, and it doesn't seem to be getting any easier for us. So here's hoping that, that can change and that it's something that will change for the better. We can only hope that it does, and that's speaking from a true Rays fan. I love our team. I love this city. So, go Rays, though. Go Rays. Now, this information is going to be kind of exciting, especially if you have watched any of the series that Netflix has put out before. So this is for all my Gator fans out there. For anybody who did see, I'm going to elaborate for a split second before I go into why this is a big deal for me. On Twitter, they had this poll that they were doing about the top 10 college football players of the 2000s. Okay, I'm not sure who made this list, and I'm not sure what kind of drugs they're doing. But what I can tell you is that both were bad. Okay, the list and the drugs. And I'm only going to tell you it was bad by virtue of one person in one place. If you're doing the top 10 quarterbacks of the 2000s and number one isn't Tim Tebow, I just got a fact, and this is a word of advice as well. You're wrong. Okay? You're 100% wrong. And I'm not saying this as a Gator. I'm saying this because, I'm sorry, but none of those guys on that list that you can name did anything close to what Tim Tebow did. So for those who don't have a good memory or may not remember exactly who Timmy T was, he was the man who led the Florida Gators on, first off, their best 3-year/4-year, because he was a backup his freshman year, to Chris Leak. Best 3/4 years of college football in Florida's history. And that's over 100 years of history, guys. Okay? So that's the first thing to note. This man, as a freshman, was the backup to Chris Leak, won a national championship. Okay? First thing. Then he goes and he wins a Heisman. Okay? The following year. Right? So, 06, national championship. 07, wins a Heisman, and convincingly, may I add. Okay? This man was an absolute destroyer to other college teams. And I'll tell you this. If our defense had been a little bit better, we don't go 9-4, guys. We go like 11-1 and maybe another title. Fortunately, we struggled on the defensive side of things. There was no way around that, especially in 2007. And also, college football was loaded. I mean, just go look at the SEC that year. I promise you'll be shocked to see what was going on. But then, what did he do after that? Somebody remind me. Oh yeah, that's right. National championship. 2 titles and a Heisman in a 3-year period. Yeah, I'm sorry, you're not going to beat that, guys. You're not going to present to me a college quarterback who did more. Because he didn't just do it with his arm. Did it with his legs, too. And against the entire criticism of the United States of America. Alright? So make no mistake about it. When it comes to the greatest college athlete to ever do it, from just college, okay? We're not talking about the pros, we're just talking about college. Tim Tebow is, without the shadow of a doubt, the best to ever do it. And by the way, his senior year wasn't that bad either. Go look at the final score of that game against Cincinnati. Did we put up like 55 points? The dude's leaving, and he's like, I'm going to just drop 55 casually. Played a great season too, may I add, that year. So, I said all that to say this. There is a quote-unquote massive documentary coming from Netflix about the Urban Meyer-led Florida Gators from the years of 2006 to 2009. For anybody who doesn't understand how skilled and blessed that team, that roster was, I encourage you to look at this series. They're not going to tell us anything we didn't already know as Florida Gators fans, but I promise you guys will be shaken to learn the depth of that roster and where everybody from that roster is and how they are doing today. Alright, so that's just something for you guys to look out for. Let's go ahead and take our last break of the evening, and when we get back, we will go ahead and finish things up with the NHL and what to expect in the MMA world of sports. So guys, thank you for having it locked here. We're going to go a little bit longer than we normally do today, but it's about time I'm due for a little bit more of a longer show. So guys, here we are. We're going to keep it moving once I get back in about 2 minutes. Again, my name is Corey Pujols. I am your host of Palm Tree Sports, which is brought to you by IE Sports Radio. Keep it locked here. Your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Live.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
Hey USRN fans, do you have a product or company you're trying to promote? Look no further. USRN is teaming up with small local businesses trying to establish themselves via online promotion. Let us know if you're interested. Email us at usrnradio@gmail.com to learn more.
And welcome back to Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, again, your host. And as always, is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, guys. Your direct feed for all that is sports. And as we have reached the final part of the show, as I mentioned before in the chat, there's a lot going on in sports, but not just in sports, and life in general at the moment, too. There's been so many crazy things. Here's one that actually broke, and this is minutely sports related. However, down here in Florida, as you guys may know, the Florida Gators isn't just named after the Gators because we like them. We're home to a lot of Gators. A swamp, indeed. All right? There was an MMA fighter who resides down here and actually took on a 10-foot gator and won, guys. You heard me right. A mixed martial artist. I didn't get his name, unfortunately. I couldn't remember his name. But this story broke earlier this week. I think I want to say yesterday morning. And it was absolutely insane, guys. Not something you expect to really see, but I think it's pretty cool. I practice martial arts. I love martial arts with every fiber of my being, just as much as I love football. And I just thought that was very interesting, something that you don't typically see. But if you're from Florida, that's not all too surprising. So that was pretty cool. Big ups to him. Congratulations, dude. What a hell of a move to be able to get in there and wrestle with an alligator. Shows, his daring and his physical attributes as well as his mental toughness as well. So that's a pretty cool thing, guys. If you didn't hear about it, check it out. Among all the crazy things going on in the world, guys, just continue to pray. But we're here for sports, not for what's going on in the world. And as far as sports are concerned, we still have the NHL to talk about, which is talking about Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals, guys. So, as we all know, the Panthers have been on tear to make it here to their Stanley Cup. They made it. They were fourth at the beginning of the playoff race in the seeding, and here they are now, ready to kick the Golden Knights behind ass, depending on, which fan you are. But I'm a rock with the home state here, so go Panthers. They're going to be playing the Golden Knights. That's Vegas. That's tonight. Game 1, 8 p.m. So if you're looking for what to watch tonight, there you go. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals should be a banger. My score for the game is going to be probably 4-2 Panthers. All right. That's where I'm leaning towards. After that, we're going to have Game 2 Monday, June 5th, 8 p.m. So you'll notice the trend. They're always going to be primetime games. We're going to skip a day or two. Everybody's going to get some rest. Same thing with the NBA Finals, where everybody's going to get some rest before they have to come back. Hopefully these guys can make the most of it and go from there as well. Some entertaining games, some things to look forward to watching versus, a scoreless or a 1-0 kind of win. So let's go Panthers. As I mentioned, I look forward to seeing what they're doing. And as a wonderful human topic for the sport of hockey, it says dead air. Can you guys hear me? If you guys can hear me, go ahead and put that into the chat. I believe I am still here. I should be still here. So if you guys can't hear me, put that into the chat, please. But we do have here that they are supporting military families, both Vegas and Florida. So that's just a beautiful thing that they're getting into. I'm not exactly sure what spurred that decision to lend the outreach out. Thank you. Perfect. I'm not sure what spontaneous, event took place to want them to share, what's going on in the hockey world with these military families, but it's absolutely a wonderful thing. I do community service with the vets here in Tampa, and it's something that I enjoy doing every week. I can only imagine what the work is that they're doing out there for these military families and communities. So that's a wonderful thing. Congratulations, guys, on extending that love out to these families. I'm sure they can use it, and I'm sure they're loving it. So big ups to you guys for doing that. Military personnel are personally my heroes. Most of my family is military, or at least did training for the military, and that was where things were aimed before God decided to change, some of our lives, including my own. So thank you guys to everyone who has served. I greatly appreciate you. Me and my family, all of my friends, we greatly appreciate you, and this is just something that I think is wonderful that these teams are doing ahead of the series. So with that being said, yeah, I love Tom. Tom was phenomenal. We had a wonderful 3 years with Tom. May I tell you that it doesn't get too much better than what we had with Tom. So I miss him. I love him. I got a Super Bowl jersey right over here next to me. So wherever you're at, Tom, thank you. We love you. And yeah, bro, it was great to have him here. But let's go ahead and wrap things up with what's going on here in the MMA world. Now, guys, there are a couple of things to pay attention to about what's going on there. We have a fight night tonight. We actually have 3 straight weeks of fights, guys, and one of them is a pay-per-view, which is going to be $289. But tonight we're going to have fight night, which is Kai Kara-France versus Amir Albazi. Kai Kara-France has most notably been presented as part of the same training camp that houses Volkanovski and Israel Adesanya, are middleweight and featherweight champions of the world respectively, and also 2 of the very best to ever do it, period, the M, in the world of martial arts. So be on the lookout for that, guys. Unfortunately, there were 4 fights that were canceled or recast for tonight. That is very, very sad. Unfortunately, that means we're going to miss out on a couple of bouts that we would have loved to see, including Jim Miller versus Jared Flash Gordon. I think that was actually going to be the one that I was most interested in besides the main event. However, the main event is still intact. The card is still good to go. Just a few less fights than what we thought we were going to have, unfortunately. So hopefully that will just build up the anticipation leading to next week's fight, which is going to be UFC 289, Amanda Nunes versus Erline Aldana. Now, this fight was a recast fight, as well as Nunes was supposed to be taking on, oh God, what's her name? The girl who beat her before and then she beat her back for the title. Oh goodness, I had the name and I forgot. I apologize, guys. That's bad on my part. However, the fight being recast gives us a chance to see what's going to happen here. I would not be surprised if Amanda Nunes walks away with the victory pretty cleanly here, as she's already been training for a tough fight. Juliana Pena, thank you, my man. That is 100% correct. Juliana Pena is who Amanda Nunes was supposed to be fighting in the trilogy fight. Unfortunately, due to injury, Pena was forced to pull out of the fight, having the fight recast to whoever was up next, which happened to be Erline Aldana. So I look forward to seeing what happens there. But more importantly, not because I don't enjoy seeing the ladies, throw down. I'm just a huge Charles Oliveira fan. He's going to be fighting Beneil Dariush, who is a very solid up-and-coming mixed martial artist, somebody that we're going to have to keep an eye on. I look forward to seeing that co-main event. Should be as good as the main event. We'll have to wait and see. But go Charles. Love Charles, man. Love Charles. What a story he is. Now, after that is going to be another fight night, and this fight night has a very good main event. Guys, this is a fight we've been waiting to see for a minute. In the middleweight division, we got Marvin Vettori versus Jared Cannonier. So that fight night is going to be, yes, Drew Bronx, baby. I love him. But yeah, that Vettori versus Cannonier fight is going to be very big because both of these guys are, I think, in the top 7. I think Cannonier fell out of the top 5 after his loss to Izzy. I believe Vettori picked up a win in his last fight, prompting this fight to be set up for who's next, just in case. Right? It's important to have a who's next just in case. But that fight should be a very good fight. I would not be surprised if Cannonier is able to control the zoning and use his wrestling to his advantage. Vettori is a better striker than he is a wrestler, so I look forward to seeing this fight stand and end up in the clinch a lot more than usual. However, I would not be surprised if Jarrett, like I said, used his wrestling to edge out these rounds against Vettori. That's my pick for that fight. I'm gonna take Jarrett Cannonier over Vettori in unanimous decision. I'm going to take Charles Oliveira over Beneil Dariush by submission. I'm going to go second round submission because I think that's where he loves his subs the most. And then I'm going to go Amanda Nunes by TKO over Erline Aldana, if not KO. And then for tonight, I'm going to take Kai Kara France in a unanimous decision victory over Amir Alabazi. And unfortunately, like I said, having those 4 fights that were canceled tonight are just really going to dumb down on what's to expect. However, I look forward to still seeing a good card. With that being said, guys, it starts at 9 p.m. If you're there, shoot me a message over on Twitter, Instagram. I'm always talking sports, always talking sports. And I look forward to being able to talk more sports with you guys in the next coming up week, especially as we get closer to college football practices and NFL real-life practices taking place. We're only 100 days away from football, guys. That's 3 months and change, all right? It's going to go by quick. Y'all know how the summer is. So be ready for that. We're going to have it all coming to you here at Palm Tree Sports Radio. Again, my name is Corey Pools. I am your host. And before I let you guys go for the evening, just some words of advice and also some food for thought. Guys, spend time with your family. I'm always going to say this because life is too short. For those who haven't been watching the news, there have been cataclysms taking place from India to the Middle East, in Europe, and even here in Florida. I'm not going to talk too much politics, but right now Florida has travel advisories that have been issued for this state just due to the fact of what's going on with our leader Ron DeSantis. I don't support him, but that's just my preference, guys. So pray for Florida, pray for the economy, pray for the housing market. There's a lot going on down here, but even more important than that, let's just pray that we still have a great state to talk about great sports with, because that's what my job is, and that's what I love to do with you guys every week. Thank you again for checking in on us. Can't wait to be here back next week. We're going to have a lot going on. And like I said, I just can't wait to talk to you guys about it. And as we get closer to the wrap-up of these other 2 sports, which will be the NBA and the NHL, hopefully what I'll be saying is Miami are the NBA champions for this year and that the Panthers are also the champs in the NHL. Thank you so much for having it locked here at Palm Tree Sports. Again, my name is Corey Pujols, and I look forward to speaking to you next week. As always, is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Thank you, guys. I'll see you next time, same place, 6 p.m. Saturday evening. Have a wonderful evening, guys, and I'll catch you next time.